Hey, welcome back to the channel. I think we all have some bad habits when we practice. But it's time to stop random noodling. It's time to stop aimlessly playing up and down the pentatonic scale. Today, let's look at 3 ways to level up our guitar playing. Number 1, we always have to have the chord scale connection. So important to sound like you know what you're doing. Number 2, play in time. Always be working at being better at your timing. Number 3 is have good technique, mainly dynamics, things that help make these notes jump off the fretboard. The time is now to level up your guitar playing. Let's get into it. For these examples today, we're going to use a minor blues, C minor, F minor, G minor, simple chords, and just the turnaround using a G7 raised 9 chord, like a Hendrix kind of chord. That's the fingering for it. This sounds really good over a minor blues to turn it around with a chord like that. To help us get out of some of these bad habits, when we pick up the guitar, we need to right away go into the chord scale connection. So important to help us sound like we know what we're doing. So we got the C minor chord. This C minor pentatonic scale fits over this chord like a glove. You can hear it. We are locked into this 8th fret here. So there's so many options here for us to add some color to this chord. I'll break down some of these double stop ideas shortly. So we want to start mixing some rhythm and lead ideas together. So we know the chords we're going to use and this C minor pentatonic scale. The next most important thing is to get some better timing, and a great way to do that is to create a groove. The goal is to have this groove in your head, but we're going to just use a simple metronome here and really focusing on the root notes of each chord. Now then start adding elements of that minor pentatonic scale. I chose this slow groove for this reason, so we can have some time to develop some of those ideas. For most of you, none of this is new. You know these chords, you know the minor pentatonic scale, but connecting them with a pulse going is not an easy thing to do, but will definitely make you a better guitar player. And if you feel like you're going to struggle going through all 3 chords, just do it over 1 chord to start with. And that's an awesome way to practice. See, I'm not randomly playing up and down the scale. I am using some small phrases, but keeping in time. It's so important. This will level up your playing more than anything, is hitting these notes on time. But stay with me, because coming up I will break down some muting ideas to give us a lot better dynamics when we play with this style here. So again, really focusing on these root notes. 8th fret, E string is that C note. 10th fret of the D string is another C note, and then obviously the octave is right here in the 8th fret. Walking down some of these ideas from the root note to another root note. And you can use that on almost any chord that you're using. That lick works. A lick we all know and love, a little variation on it though. So bending a whole tone up from the 10th fret of the G string to this G note. And just always with your bends, bend up to that note that you want. Make sure you're at the right pitch. Pulling off after that to this 8th fret again of the B string. And all through this, especially on this C minor chord, you see me taking my finger off of that. It's C minor 7 at that point. It's interchangeable. Same with these other chords. Minor 7th there. This gives it a little more color. But you can use double stops through here, because all these notes are in this chord. Barring in the 8th fret of the G and the B strings and hammering on to the 10th fret of the G string. And then get back to that root note. And this one you can really hit a few times. Really reminds me of Stevie Ray Vaughan, that little sound there. And then you can do it on the other strings too. So you're barring the 8th fret of the D and the G string and hammering on to the root note. And you can go back and forth. Right back to the root note. Even when you're practicing, work on your muting technique. It's so important. 90% of the time, I am resting my palm here. I'll move over a little bit, but right on the front side of this bridge, just to slightly mute the strings, and I'll back off pressure as I want the strings to ring. To have the control over the strings that way, especially at higher volumes, you need to not have these extra strings be ringing as you're playing these licks. I'm kind of slightly resting it here, but I'm also slightly muting here. Believe me, it takes a lot of time to be able to do that, but you can't just rest your hand up like this. It's hard to have speed, it's hard to have any control. You need to really have your palm in a comfortable position here. You'll take it off and on, the pressure of it, but it's so important to add dynamics to what you're doing. I'm just constantly hitting or keeping my palm to kind of keep control over these strings. You will find ways to do this because you'll hear strings ringing that you don't want to ring, and you can use your fingers here and your palm here to slightly mute that stuff so you can really dig in and put your heart into these notes. You can use these techniques on any chords, any groove, but just know the chords well. Make sure you're playing them clean. I like to associate a minor or major pentatonic with the chords I'm working with. In this case, it's minor pentatonic. And really use some dynamics to mix some lead and rhythm ideas in that groove. Up and down the pentatonic scale, but playing in time is such a great way to practice and really just makes you a better player. So having the chord scale connection, better timing, and adding a good muting technique to really be able to add some dynamics to the notes you're playing. Those are three great ways to take your guitar playing to the next level. So glad you chose to hang out with me today, and hopefully we'll see you on the next one.